الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said to us, إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. I was sent, or I was not sent, but to perfect the good character. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He praised him عليه الصلاة والسلام, He said to him, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, amongst other praises that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, that indeed you have a great character. And he said to us as well, alayhi salatu wasalam, that those that will be closest to him on the day of judgment, he says, أَحَاسِنُكُمْ أَخْلَاقًا, those that will have the best of the character. And these characters are expressed through the manners. And that character itself is an expression of faith, of the iman. Like the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam says, لا يؤمن, he's not a believer, he who goes to bed full stomach when his neighbor is hungry and he knows about it. And he also said that anyone that believes in Allah and the last day should say good things or just be quiet. So we see the close association between the character and the iman, where the Prophet ﷺ took those different aspects of character and he raised them so high as to make them part of iman in itself. And then so also your characters are the face of your call, of your message. So people will not listen to you unless you have this thing to present to them. And we've seen in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ how the enemies of the Prophet, the leaders of Quraysh, despite the fact that they used to fight him, but they used to trust him ﷺ due to his trustworthiness and his truthfulness. And these akhlaq, this character will appear in three specific situations. First of all is when you are with someone for an extended period of time. See, when you see somebody, meet someone for an hour, a day, it is easy to put on a nice face, a nice smile. That's easy, that's not challenging. But the challenge is when you're living with someone. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said to us, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ, that the best among you is the one who is nicest to his spouse. Because that's where the challenge is. She's with you all the time. So this is the character, this is the test of your character. If you know how nice your character is, see how well you're treating your spouse. And that's why also Umar alayhi radwanullah, once he asked somebody, do you know so-and-so? And they told him, oh yes, he's a nice person. And he says, well, have you traveled with him? Have you had a business deal with him? They said, no. He said, well, then you don't know him, because you haven't seen him actually for that long period of time. The second actually situation where the true character will show is when you are in a position of power, of control, and you hold on. This is where the test is. See, it is nice, it is expected that you treat your boss nicely, but the challenge is how are you going to treat your employees. That's where it is. So when you're in a position of control, that's where the challenge is. That's why the Muslims were praised in history as being the greatest conquerors in history, having the most mercy, because that's where the true character of the Muslims actually showed more than anything else. And that's also true at the personal level. The third situation where the true character shows is when you differ with someone in opinion. See, when everybody has the same opinion, of course everything goes smoothly and nicely, but the challenge is when you differ with someone in opinion. Are you going to consider this as the criterion for Islam? Wallah, if you differ with me even on a secondary opinion, then lakum dinukum waliya din. This is not the way it should be. Because the condition or the criterion for accepting someone or not is Islam itself. Now, even if the person is a kafir, of course, you still have the same code of conduct that have to be followed when dealing with them. But specifically, sometimes, subhanAllah, because much of our problems happen when we differ in opinions, specific opinions, not major opinions even, and we take that as the major thing. And of course, we have the best examples in here, and the great Imam, like Shafi'i alayhi radwanullah, of course, the great example. He has said so many things, wallahi, that can actually act as a constitution for life, so to speak, when dealing with differences. He said, whenever I deal with someone, whenever I argue with someone, I always wish for the truth to come out of his mouth. That's why we do not monopolize the truth. If it's not coming out of my mouth, then it's not the truth. This is not the true approach. Now, how do we get those characters? I think that's really what we're after, all of us. First of all, sometimes it's a nature. Some people by nature, they have certain good qualities. And we envy them. That's a good envy in Islam. Some people are patient by nature. They're generous by nature. They're really careful by nature. But the others, if you're like the rest of us, you have to struggle to attain these things. You have to train yourself. You have to try to change and push your own limits. And that's possible, by the way. No one can say, Wallah, that's my nature, I cannot change it. No, we can change. Otherwise, Allah will not ask us to change. Yani when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have to be patient, we have to be generous, that means all of us can achieve that. Allah will not ask us to do something that we cannot do. So the fact that Allah is asking us to do that, that means we can do it. And we have Ramadan as a proof that we can change. You know, there are many things in our life that we think we cannot change. Wallahi, listen, I have to have this cup of coffee in the morning. I cannot change. I cannot do without this cup of coffee. Well, you know what? I can do without it. And the proof is Ramadan. And there are many things that we think that we are actually enslaved by those habits and this way of doing things. But Ramadan comes to us to show us that we can change. So we can change, we just have to push our limit and then train ourselves to do that. And of course, at the end, we don't forget the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in Ramadan. And we remember the concept of reward and punishment. That the Prophet ﷺ says that anyone who has this anger and can fulfill this anger, can take revenge on someone, but he holds back, when he can, he says he can enter from any gates of Al-Jannah. That's why the concept of reward is something very important in Islam that we don't want to forget. And this will be a great motivation for us to change. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the qualities that He has described in the Quran. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us close to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam as He has promised, those who will have the good qualities on the Day of Judgment. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.